The Whisper of Samir. I grew up in a small town, the kind where everyone knows each other, and stories of strange things spread fast. The story I'm about to tell happened when I was around 16, and even though I still don't fully understand what went on, I know it felt as real as anything else in my life. The funny part is, my family never really believed in ghosts or anything supernatural. I didn't either, not until this happened. My uncle, Samir, was someone I was really close to. He was the youngest in my mom's family and only about 10 years older than me, so we had this special bond. He was the kind of guy who was always cheerful, always joking around, and making everyone laugh. Samir lived nearby and would often come over. He'd take me out for ice cream or teach me to ride my bike. Honestly, he felt more like an older brother than an uncle. But then one night, my world came crashing down. Samir had gone out with his friends, and on the way back, they were in a car accident. He didn't make it. I remember the phone ringing late at night, the tense silence that followed, and then hearing my mom crying. It was one of the hardest times of my life. A few months after Samir passed, life was starting to return to normal, at least on the surface. But I still missed him, every day. That's when the strange things began. One evening, I was in my room, working on homework, just like any other night. I kept a picture of Samir on my desk, and sometimes I'd look at it and think about all the fun times we had. That night, I remember feeling this odd sensation, like someone was watching me. You know that feeling, when you just know there's someone there, even if you can't see them. I told myself it was just my imagination and went back to my homework. Later that night, I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. On my way back to my room, I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. It was like a shadow, but I swear it looked like a person standing near the balcony door. I quickly turned to look, but there was nothing there. I stood frozen for a moment, trying to convince myself it was just a trick of the light, maybe something outside casting a shadow. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Over the next few days, more strange things happened. I'd hear soft footsteps in the hallway at night when everyone else was asleep. Once, I even heard a laugh, Samir's laugh. It was faint, but I knew that sound so well. I looked around, but of course, no one was there. About a week after I saw that shadow, I was lying in bed, just about to fall asleep. My room was dark except for the faint glow from the street lamp outside. Just as I was drifting off, I felt this cold breeze sweep through the room. It was weird because it was the middle of summer, and the windows were closed. Then, I heard a voice. It was soft, almost like a whisper, but clear enough for me to understand. It said, "Hey, kiddo." That's what Samir used to call me, kiddo. My heart started racing, and I sat up in bed, looking around the room, but there was nothing, just silence. I thought maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe I was hearing things because I missed him so much. But then, I smelled something, a faint scent of Samir's cologne. That earthy smell he always wore. I hadn't smelled it since he passed away. It was like he was right there beside me. I didn't know if I should be scared or relieved. The next morning, I told my mom about it. She listened quietly but didn't say much. I could tell she thought I was just imagining things because I missed him. But after that night, things only got stranger. One night, I woke up around 3 a.m. You know, that witching our people talk about, though I didn't know much about it back then. I had this strange feeling like I needed to go to the living room. Still half asleep, I got out of bed and wandered down the hallway. When I walked into the living room, I stopped dead in my tracks. Sitting on the couch, as casually as ever, was Samir. He looked exactly the way I remembered him, dressed in his favorite shirt, with his hair slightly messy like he always wore it. He was just sitting there, smiling at me, like he'd been waiting for me to come in. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I just stood there, staring at him. Then he spoke. "Don't be scared, kiddo," he said, his voice calm and reassuring, just like it had always been. "I just wanted to check on you." I finally managed to whisper, "Samir?" He nodded, still smiling. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to run over and hug him, but another part of me was too shocked to move. My heart was pounding, but at the same time, I felt comforted by his presence. I wanted to ask him so many questions, but before I could, he looked toward the window, as if he was listening to something far away. "I have to go," he said. "Standing up, take care of yourself, and don't worry. I'm always around," and just like that, he was gone. I blinked. And the couch was empty, as if he had never been there at all. The next morning, I didn't tell anyone about what I'd seen. I was too scared they'd think I was losing my mind. But after that night, the strange thing stopped. No more footsteps, no more voices, no more cold breezes. It was as if he'd come back just to say goodbye, to let me know he was okay and still watching over me. Now, years later, I still think about that night from time to time. I don't know if it was real or just my mind playing tricks on me, but deep down, I believe it was him. Maybe he just wanted to make sure I was okay before he moved on. I haven't seen or heard from him since, but every now and then, when I'm feeling down or going through something tough, I'll catch a faint whiff of that familiar cologne. And in those moments, it's like he's still watching over me, from wherever he is. I don't usually tell this story to just anyone because I know how it sounds. But if you ask me whether I believe in ghosts or spirits, I'd say yes, because of Samir. Like and follow please.